welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you. Basically, I've had a weekend filled with motorsport, but don't worry, there's been some horse sport as well. So we're going to be talking about all of that. So all of my F1 fans, this is going to be one for you, but don't worry. I'm going to have some stories. I'm going to make it interesting if you aren't into motorsport or F1, all that kind of stuff. But before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Red Post. Red Post is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, and they also ship all over the world. And I feel like in the last kind of week, we have suddenly gone into autumn. It has suddenly got really cold. So do you know what that means? It means you need to start thinking about your horse's rugs, turnout rugs, boots for yourself, staying nice and warm. And you can get all of that from Red Post. So be sure to go and check that out and make sure you're stocked up on everything for the new season ahead at redpostequestrian.co.uk. Anyway, let's start with today's episode, because the other weekend I had, if you include Friday as well, because I was basically away from Friday to Saturday at 3 different shows, doing 3 different things. So I thought I would update you all on that, because I've had a horsey weekend, I've had a motorsport weekend, I've had a show weekend. So anyway, let's start off with the Friday. So that Friday I was invited by Fairfax and Favour to go to their stand for their collab with Musto, which was very cool. Apparently that has done so well that they were literally had sold everything out on the website, and then they had their stock at the stand at the horse show, and they were trying to there was apparently like a little fight between the people on the stand being like, no, we need to keep some to sell to the general public, and then the people doing all the online sales were like, no, we need more to put on the website. So it's great to hear that went really, really well. So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about my outfit of the day, because I had so many people say so many nice things about my outfit, and it was one of those things where normally for the show, it's because it's kind of like early autumn, you never know if it's going to be hot and sunny summer dress sort of weather, or if it's going to be like jackets, jumpers, muddy boots, getting ready for winter, because it can get a little bit chilly. So I always feel like in the eventing kind of season at this event, it's either one or the other. You never get like an in-between weather. Like sometimes I've been to places and it's been like hailing, and anyway, so I was planning a really cute autumnal kind of outfit with like a sweater and a jacket and some boots and that kind of thing, because down south where we are, it was absolutely freezing cold. Everyone was like, okay, summer's over now, super chilly, super cold. And then I'm so glad I checked the weather, because I checked the weather where this event was, and oh my goodness, it was boiling. It was about 27 degrees. It was sunny, it was hot, and I was like, what on earth? So anyway, when I was at the event, I was messaging all my friends being like, haha, it's nice and sunny here, because apparently it was absolutely raining, thunderstorming. Oh my gosh, yeah, we had a thunderstorm the other day. So at first, I wasn't really kind of expecting a thunderstorm. It didn't feel like a thunderstorm kind of day. And I was, sitting having my afternoon coffee after my lunch, sitting on the sofa, and then I was like, me and my dad, we looked at each other and we're like, was that lightning? Was that lightning? That was like kind of like a flash of white light. And sometimes where you're like, is it my eyes playing tricks on me? Is it just like the electrics on the light? Maybe it just like flashed at a weird time. We're like, no, that was lightning. Because only a few seconds later, there was the biggest boom that I have heard in my life. I was like, what on earth was that? It was so loud that the window panes on our house started shaking. And we kind of looked at each other like, should we go and check on the horses? So we quickly rushed out, and they were all fine. They were all good. Couldn't care less. So anyway, it didn't last very long, luckily, but it was a little bit like, oh wow, we haven't had a big old thunderstorm in a while. So anyway, while I was at this event with Fairfax and Favour, it was glorious sunny. It was actually so hot that I was standing there in my white, I had like a shirt dress on. It was like a summer shirt dress. It was like quite a long one as well, which is nice, like a maxi dress. But I was standing there, and when it's so hot that you can feel, I don't know if this is a bit TMI or not, but you can feel sweat like dripping down your leg when you have a skirt on. Like it was hot, it was sticky, it was, yeah. I had a straw hat on as well, because I was like last minute kind of was like, what am I going to wear? And I thought perfect. I got my Fairfax Georgia boots, which are kind of like little cowgirl boots, which are very cute. And I managed to wear them all day at the event, walking around, and I was fine in them. So that was good. So I did the heel test for you guys. I had a cute little belt on as well. I had my fringe bag. So no, that was my go-to outfit. That literally the night before I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be 27. I can't be wearing jeans and a jacket and boots. So quickly popped that together. And yeah, even one of my friends was like, girl, I love the cowgirl outfit. Like, it wasn't like really that planned. Not that much thought was put into it, but boom, it worked. And I feel like sometimes outfits like that, when you just plan them last minute, they just come to you and they come together. Sometimes they're the best outfits. So there we go. Anyway, I had a lovely day with them. There was like a little talk about the collab and how it was put together. The coat's also very nice. I really like the green ones as well. It's a little bit different. I do love the colour green. Green is probably one of my favourite colours. Green and pink, I would say, are probably my two faves. And then what else? Oh yeah, the Musto dog was there. It had a little neckerchief on, which I just thought was absolutely adorable. That is one thing that I love about going to shows, is when there's loads of dogs. I'm on dog watch. I'm going around. I'm like, oh, there's that one, and oh, there's that one, and I just love looking at all the dogs. I'm like, oh, if I get a dog one day, would I want one like that? Anyway. So I had good fun with that, and then after that, zoomed down to the other side of the country. Actually, not that far away. Maybe like an hour and a bit away, 2 hours more across than up or down. But we went to the Williams Formula One team HQ, had a tour around there, and oh my goodness, you guys know that my family and I am big Formula One fan. Been watching it a while, and so we got to go around the Williams factory, and when I tell you, it was massive. It was way bigger than I was ever expecting. It was, the best way I can describe it is the best kind of feeling that it gave me. It felt like I was on a university campus, because it was that kind of size. It was huge. There were all these different buildings. There was also like a lot of like well kept like lawn and trees and just like land in general. Like they had like two big kind of like fields or greens or that kind of thing. So that was really lovely. So we went into the kind of main reception area first, where they obviously have a big car there, so I had to get lots of photos with the car, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't do like a proper like YouTube video filming tour, because so much of it was like I wasn't allowed to film, wasn't allowed to take photos of, because obviously, you know, they don't want the opposition, they don't want anybody else finding out what they're doing for their 2025 car. They need to keep these things a secret, But anyway, so we went for a little tour around the kind of like museum bit first, where they had all of their old cars. So I was like, oh, that used to be George Russell's car, or all that kind of stuff. So that was really fun, going around and I'm just like looking at all the different cars and all the different stuff and all the behind the scenes. Just the infrastructure was massive. And then that was only like one part. They also had the kind of e-racing, kind of like little things that you could sit in, the simulators. So they had simulators that like the general public could use, and then they had this other simulator in a different building. Now this was, if any of you, I think it's Cars 2 or Cars 3. I think it's Cars 3 actually. Yeah, the final Cars, the Disney Pixar film. If you've seen that, there's a car simulator in it, and it looks just like it, but obviously for a human to sit in, because it was like in this massive room, and it had kind of like a sliding kind of thing. It almost looked a little bit like a roller coaster, where it would like slide to the left or slide to the right, obviously to give that kind of force when you're driving along, and there was like this massive screen that went round, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looked so cool. And also, one thing that I can say, I have seen Alex Albon. I've also seen Franco, who was obviously very new at the time. He is the new member of the Williams team. And I also saw James, who apparently at Williams, everyone calls him JB, I'm pretty sure. So there we go, James Vowles. He is the like head dude. That was definitely not very like, sometimes I just put things into what I call Esme terms, especially if I'm like reading like legal documents or important work thingies. I just put it into Esme terms. So in Esme terms, he is the head dude. Anyway, so there we go. Didn't talk to them personally, but they were all very busy and I didn't want to disturb anyone, but I saw them from a distance, and that was very cool, and gave them a little wave. So that is my claim to fame. But anyway, we also went around like the factory part as well, which was, again, I just can't can't tell you how huge this place was. Absolutely massive. And they had all these machines for cutting out different things. They had all these, like half of the stuff, I can't lie, I didn't really know what it was doing. And then I went around and I looked at my dad and I was like, wait a minute, they've got all of this, all of these things for 2 cars. 2 cars. I mean, technically they are also doing, stuff for the 2025 car, so that's technically kind of like 4 cars. But still, it's not like it's a big car factory and they're, rolling out hundreds of cars all the time. Like, this is literally the 2 cars that go around the world doing the racing. And I was like, there's all of this infrastructure. It was just incredible. My favourite part was the wind tunnel. Now, if you don't know what a wind tunnel is, basically it's this tunnel that they blow. This again is going to be in Esme terms. I am no engineer, but it's basically this tunnel, and they blow wind through it so they can see aerodynamics. Because obviously that's a lot to do with the design of a car. Is down to the aero or the aerodynamics. So apparently this wind tunnel, so they have a model of the car in that's a little bit smaller than the actual car, and they do lots of tinkering and moving around and seeing how downforce and all that kind of stuff works with the wind and wind coming at it at different directions. But when I tell you, this wind tunnel, it is on like almost all the time. So this is the thing that blew me away the most. The wind tunnel is on from 6 a.m. in the morning. And then they have obviously lots of different teams that switch round and do different shifts, because it is on till 6 in the morning until midnight. How many? That's like basically almost all day. How ridiculous is that? How wild is that? That there's just people in there all the time making all these changes. So that was wild. Obviously the day that we went, the wind tunnel was turned off so we could go in and have a look, and honestly, it felt like something in Stranger Things. That's the best way I can describe it, because it was this like big white room with this big fan, and then they also had these little kind of channels that obviously the wind gets blown through, and we took some photos in there, and it honestly, like, if you said to like, where are you, it looked like I was in, I guess it was kind of like a laboratory, but it was very cool. We took some snazzy photos, and obviously everything was like very Williams branded with the kind of like royal blue, and it was just so cool. I had a very good time. But yeah, no, I was just walking around like, this is very surreal, this is very cool. I was very, very grateful for the opportunity to go there. So yeah, thank you, Williams. Oh, I have just thought I have some kind of exciting news to tell you all. So if you've been listening or watching for a little while, you will know that every single year I do an annual, and it's kind of about what I get up to with the horses, or lots of fun facts, that kind of stuff. And I can now say that the annual is now ready to pre-order. So if you're looking for maybe Christmas presents for friends and family or that kind of thing for your horsey friends, then you can check that out at thisesme.com. But anyway, on to the final show of that very busy show-filled weekend, and I actually went to Goodwood. So I've never been to Goodwood before. We went for the revival, so Goodwood cars, not Goodwood horses. But we went for the cars, and yes, that was very cool. I can't lie. So I need to tell you what it is if you don't know what it is, obviously. So the Goodwood Revival is basically, it's kind of, how do I describe it? It's a car festival, and it is all very kind of last century themed. So I'd say it's kind of 40s, 50s and 60s, and everybody dresses up, which is so much fun. So I wore this pink dress, which I'd say was more kind of 60s, and because the weather was so horrible, I wore my trench coat. I wore a straw hat because I was going to do my hair all big and fancy and that kind of thing, and I looked at the weather forecast and it was absolutely tipping it down with rain. So I was like, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to spend all this time doing my hair just to look like a drowned rat. So I went for slick back bun in a hat. And I feel like that was the good move when it came to hair for that particular day. I had looked up all these like different hairstyles on Pinterest and all these tutorials on YouTube, but maybe for next year if I go again. But anyway, so my dress was like a really cute 60s pink. It was like almost like a Barbie peachy pink. And I thought with my blonde hair, I would have been like a 60s Barbie. Didn't really look like that with the raincoat and the hat. But anyway, it was a vibe. It was fine. I also made sure that I had my waterproof boots on as well, because it was also very, very muddy. So when we arrived, it was actually, we were driving there. It was quite fun because we were spotting like, oh, they're going to Goodwood, there's a classic car, and then the thing was, as we got closer and closer to the event, we were like, oh, there's quite a few cars. We were like, oh, they're going to Goodwood, but they're on the side of the road because they have broken down. So we felt really bad for all the people that were broken down. Also, most people that were broken down, they were only 5 minutes away from the show. I was like, they are so close yet so far. And I felt there were all these like people that were like in the passenger seat that obviously weren't the like classic car fans, but were going along with their friends and family, and they looked very disgruntled and very upset. We were doing like, I don't know if anybody else does this or if it's just my friends and family, but sometimes I love people watching, especially when you're in a car and you're in like a traffic jam or something, and just people watching and doing like the voices for people. And we were doing that, and I was like, that lady there, she's definitely going, oh Gerald, why did we take this car along with us? We should have gone for the other one. Right, it's got them broken down. I told you shouldn't have taken. Anyway, we were doing that and we were having so much fun, which I don't know if anybody else does that, but we were having a great time. Even though we were in traffic and it took us quite a while to get in, even though I should have known this. Like, I've got to go to so many horse shows and things for my job, and I'm like, I should know to get there early so you don't sit in traffic and you don't take forever to get in. Anyway, I was going with friends and we were all, being girls and taking forever to get ready. So there's that. But we had a good time. And then we arrived. And as we arrived, oh my goodness, I have never been in such torrential rain in my entire life. Like, we arrived and we were standing in the queue to have our tickets and stuff checked to go in. And one of my friends didn't realise it was going to rain, so she didn't have a raincoat or anything. Luckily, in my car, I have a spare umbrella. So I had my umbrella, she had an umbrella, and then my other friend just had a raincoat on. And we were standing there, and it was so cold and so rainy. We were just like, oh my goodness, what have we signed ourselves up for? What are we doing here? But anyway, once we got in, once it stopped raining, once we'd had a coffee and a snack, the sunshine came out and it was basting. And we were like, what in the world? The weather did a real 180 and we actually had such a great day. It was so much like, I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit of a history nerd, so I loved all of the kind of like last century 1950s, 40s and 60s. I did that the wrong way around. 40s, 50s and 60s kind of themed things. So they had like a whole hair salon that you could go in and get your hair professionally done in like a kind of cool 40s, 50s, 60s way. So one of my friends, she went earlier and she went and had her hair done there, and we met up with her and she looked incredible. I just loved looking at everybody's outfits. It was so much fun. And of course, all of the classic cars, all of the old stuff. One of my everyone's going to be like, Esme, there are so many cool classic cars there. Why is this your favourite? But I feel like one of my favourite cars that I saw there was an old Defender in the heritage, like sage kind of coloured green. Like, that is like one of my dream cars. I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. Also, like an old Porsche. An old Porsche is also very nice. Also, all of the old racing cars as well. Like, there was one in like a baby blue, and I was like, oh my gosh, that one there. That is a bit of me. Also, all the old Ferraris as well. We saw this one Ferrari and I was like, one of my friends who's really into cars, he was saying like how much it was worth. And I was like, okay, I'm going to step away from that car in case I fall over and trip and scratch it. I don't know. I was like, okay, Esme, step away from that car. You cannot, no. Anyway, so that was really good fun. Also, the same friend, his cousin, which is very, very funny, is a car YouTuber. So met up with him. So he was doing like kind of like my job, but at like a car show. So that was quite fun. Had a little chat to him. So that was funny. And then, yeah, had a little walk around. I was like, oh, I've seen that thing from like online. Like, you know, when you've researched somewhere and you've looked at it so many times, like online and that kind of thing, and then you actually go there and you're like, oh, that's that thing and that's that thing. Anyway, I was like that with the big kind of clock that they have where you kind of like go underneath the track, you can walk under. They also had, if you're not into cars, they also had a lot of planes. They had a lot of kind of like war planes and stuff. So I thought that was really fascinating. Again, bit of a history nerd. And yeah, it was just an all round great day. By the end of it, we were all absolutely shattered because we basically just been walking around all day. Oh, we also went on like this tractor trailer ride that they have. So you can go like on this trailer and they take you all the way kind of like around the track. So we hopped onto there. And as we were going along, there was this big bramble sticking out and it It flung straight into my face, and I had this bramble hit my face. Luckily, it didn't scratch it, and all of my friends were like, "Oh no, Ismee, when are you next doing filming? You're gonna have this big scratch in your face." Luckily, it was all good. It was fine. But yes, they were joking all about that. But also, I had a little snack, and I had a paper kind of, not paper packet, like a little paper, like a little paper bag, that's what it is. And I was so proud of myself because as we were driving along, there was a bin on the side. To be fair, we were going very slowly on a tractor trailer, and I thought, guys, do you reckon I can throw my I rolled it up into a little ball, my little paper ball, do you reckon I can throw it into the bin? And they were like, nah, you're not gonna be able to get it. I threw it, it landed in the bin. I was so proud of myself. A few of our friends did get off there, so if it didn't land in the bin, they would have put it in the bin for me because, I don't want to be littering. I am not a litter bug. Anyway, so I was so proud of myself. I was so gassed. And then, for about 5 minutes later, all of my friends were just like, Esme, I still can't believe that I managed to land it in because I'm not very good at, would you say I'm not very good at throwing and catching. But I'm an athletic girl, but when it comes to throwing and catching, maybe it's a bit of my dyspraxia that I have, dyspraxia, whatever. I'm just not very good at catching or throwing things, and to get it in that bin, I was gassed. I was so proud of myself. Anyway, so no, the rest of the day was really good. My favourite bit was probably right at the end because they had all these classic cars going around doing this race, and there was this one Mini. And when you just there's this one car or this one horse or whatever, and you're just really cheering them on. So for me, I was cheering on this Mini, and it was going around, and every time it got closer and closer to this other car, and then we saw it overtake. There's one part where I was like, oh my gosh, it almost landed off the track, and I was like, oh my goodness. But anyway, that was really cool. That was really fun. I was supposed to go to Goodwood for the Festival of Speed, but that was when I had COVID, so I was absolutely gutted about that. So I was glad that I did get to go to Goodwood once this year. So yeah, it was a good day out. It was tiring because I think by the end of it I was absolutely shattered because number one, we got up early to get there and we did a lot of walking around, but also number two, I kind of had 3 very busy, or kind of, I was going to say show days. Going to Williams wasn't really a show. It was going around a factory, but still, it was a lot of talking to people, it was just a busy day, a lot of travel, going up around the country all these days. So by the end of it, I can tell you one thing. When I went to bed that night, I was shattered. I got home, had a nice bath. You guys know me, I love a bath. I am a bath person. We're now going into bath season. Now it's getting colder. If you want to make me happy, all after a long day is get home and eat my dinner in the bath while watching Netflix on my iPad. What more could you want? That is peak luxury for me. So there we go. I did that. I rested my feet that were hurting, and then I went to sleep. So on that note, I think I'm going to finish off today's podcast episode there. Tell you what, there weren't actually many embarrassing stories in this one. I just got up to lots of fun things and got up to lots of cool things. So yeah, very, very grateful that I'm able to do this as my job and get so many cool opportunities. So thanks to you guys for listening. Hope you've all had a lovely week as well. I just want to say a huge thank you to Red Post for sponsoring the podcast, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.